In this video, I'm going to show you 3 different ways that you can make a handle for a cup. The first way is going to be a slab, the second would be with a coil, and the third would be pulling. So to begin a slab handle, I need to first roll out a slab, and you don't want your handles to be really thick, otherwise they're kind of awkward to hold. So I'm just going to do a 1 ruler width wide. And in order to get this nice and smooth, and also to kind of make it a little more sturdy, we're going to use a rib and smooth out the slab. And if you need something really specific when you are making a handle, for example, like a really specific size, it'd be a really good idea to make a template. So, say my cup is about this big, I would need my handle to be about this big, so I'd measure that out. Using a string kind of helps sometimes if you're doing something that's not straight. And then I would lengthen that out to see how long that would be, and lay the paper down and cut out around it. But for the sake of time in this video, I'm just going to freehand it. I can always trim it down if I need to. Alright, once we have our slab cut out, we need to smooth the edges, because usually if you want your cup to be functional, you don't want to have a sharp handle. So at this point I can make any sorts of changes to my handle. If I wanted to roll it or press a design into it, I could do that at this point. And I notice I have some bumps over here, so I'm going to clean that up before I put the handle on. So if this was all I wanted to do for my handle, what I would do would be then to just shape it into whatever sort of handle shape that I want, and just let it sit for a little bit until it's about leather hard. Once it's leather hard, it's much easier to attach to your cup than when it's plastic, because it won't really hold its shape like this upright if it's plastic. So letting it stiffen up a little bit makes it so much easier to attach. And at this point, maybe you want to have your cup with you if you're doing something really fancy with the handle. Maybe you want to make a little curve here and then attach the cup right here. That's a very common theme with handles, little decorative elements. And I think I might actually want to curve this in just a little bit. So I'm just going to run my finger along the center of the slab. And then I want to make sure that anywhere that I'm bending my clay, I'm getting rid of any cracks or anything that would start to appear. The next style of handle would be making a handle with a coil. So I'm just going to kind of take this piece of clay and round the edges out just a little bit, so it'll be a little easier to roll that coil out. And I don't quite need this much clay, so I'll take off a little bit. Alright, so now it's mostly rounded. And what I'm going to do is just start rolling out my coil. Now, to keep it from getting flat edges, when you roll it, you want to make sure that you are either going a full 360 degrees, or that you're putting an equal amount of pressure on it as it is receiving from the table. So usually how I go is I roll back and forth and then spread my fingers out as I move, and that tends to work well for me. And I really just am very observant to notice if there is starting to be a flat area, then I switch the direction of the coil. Alright, so I'm going to smooth this. This seems a bit more of the right size. And I don't want my handle perfectly round, so I'm going to kind of flatten it out just a little bit. So it's kind of like a rounded rectangle. And from there I can shape it into a handle shape. So that's still a little long. So I think this one I'll just stick with a really basic handle. And I'll set that off to the side. The next step will be pulling a handle, and for this we need to be at a sink. Alright, to pull a handle, start with kind of a thicker coil, not really long, probably about the size of your hand. And in order to do this, your clay needs to be very wet, so you pretty much need to keep it almost under running water. It's kind of a delicate process, so if you pull too hard it's going to rip it. So it's really gentle, it takes a long time, and anytime you start to feel any drag, you need to make sure that you get some more water on there. So let's get started. Usually when you pull a handle, it's going to be thicker on one end and then thinner at the base. So I'm just going to grasp it and then pull. And then I'm just kind of pulling it into the shape that I want it to be. And I think I'm just going to add a little bit of a groove in the middle. Alright, so it's really slippery, but now we have a good pulled handle, and from here I can shape it how I want it to be. And these I like to use a little curve at the end. And then I'll just take a knife and cut it off at kind of a 45-degree angle, that way I can attach it really easily to my cup. And remember, I'll be cutting off this piece. Now that my handles have kind of stiffened up in that I can hold them and they'll hold their shape, we're ready to attach them to the cup. So what I need to do is find wherever I want to put my handle and just gently kind of place it where I want it. And I'm just going to make a little mark here where the handle goes so that I know where to score it. Alright, and I'll put a little slip down. And then I'm going to rough it up again just to be extra sure it's going to stick. And then we will begin the process. I'm going to use my hand on the inside of the cup to support it as I'm pressing down. That way we don't make a dent or anything in the cup. And then I'm just going to smear down this part of the handle. If your handle is a little too leather hard, you might need to make a small coil of clay and use that in the seam to join it. Remember, you can also use a modeling tool if your fingers don't quite fit into the area you need it to. And I'm just going to use a paintbrush a little bit later on the handle to get rid of some of these cracks that we see here. So whenever I do anything on the handle at this point, it's really important that I am supporting it on the back with my other hand to keep it from breaking or anything. I can kind of slip my hand in there to really see if it's the right shape at this point. Feel if it's ergonomic. Okay, so I've scored my cup and my handle for the second cup. And I'm not really going to use a lot of slip here. Just a little. And I'm going to attach the top part of the handle first so that I can really reach in there with my finger to get it smoothed. So you can see when a handle isn't quite leather hard and you attach it, it kind of sags a little bit. So I'm going to need to smear this in really well so that it stays where I want it to be. And if you absolutely need it, you can always take a crumpled up piece of paper and stick it into the inside here so that it stays where you want it to. And I'm always just kind of checking the handle to see that it fits well in the hand. So that might change the shape of it as we work with it.